In the wake of several school shootings, our university is taking steps to ensure its students remain safe. Connor Jones has the story. A Hampden police officer is on the other side of the law after being hit by a drunk driver Sunday morning. Cross country may be doing well, but the same can't be said for the field hockey team. They're going home after a first-round playoff exit to Ryder. Here in Union Beach, New Jersey, over 100 homes have been destroyed due to Hurricane Sandy, much like the one behind me. And over 200 more homes have been deemed uninhabitable. You're absolutely right, Pete. The hockey team is gearing up to play the Ohio State Buckeyes in a 2-game series this weekend. So Tatiana, you know what's going on with the hockey team this year?
Actually, I have been to a game and they're doing really well.
Yeah, that's right. Max, just how well are they doing? Quinnipiac may not have a football team, but school spirit is high for the next best thing, New Blue Rugby. Now, NHL players can only dream of having a season like Babstock's. That's mainly because the NHL doesn't even have a season right now. They look like you're about to throw a punch there. It was getting serious. The New Jersey coast got hit hard by Superstorm Sandy. Nelson Rivera had a front row view. He filmed the destruction of Union Beach, New Jersey with a portable video camera from his second-story window, where he said the water was higher than street signs.
The debris and the amount of water that came down the road here was probably about 5 feet.
There was also serious damage to his house.
Water damage in the house caused the floors to buckle, and now everything's gutted. There's just basically beams in the house. There's no sheetrock, no insulation. Everything's pretty much ready to be rebuilt.
But incredibly, Rivera didn't get the worst of it. Brook Avenue did. A few houses were left standing. Others were reduced to just rubble. The only thing that remained from some homes were the steps that led to the front door. Not even the foundation stood. Here in Union Beach, New Jersey, over 100 homes have been destroyed due to Hurricane Sandy, much like the one behind me, and over 200 more homes have been deemed uninhabitable. But the destruction goes beyond houses. This is Jacobob's Bay, or perhaps more appropriately, what's left of it. It was a popular waterfront restaurant owned by Gigi Dore, but like just about everything else in Union Beach, was destroyed.
We had a hot pretzel machine in the restaurant, in the bar part that was on dock. One of the girls, Taryn, who works with me, part of the deck was on her front lawn. She's on shore.
This is what the restaurant used to look like, and this is what it looks like now.
Like, these were ripped up, the toilets were ripped up. Look over there, see the brown? You see the outline for the toilet in the corner on the floor?
The restaurant, like the town it served, was destroyed. And there's nothing left to do but pick up the pieces. Gigi has been one of the main volunteers trying to help rebuild the town. But she says they need more than just people to help clean up. They need money to help rebuild.
I've been at the Borough Hall since day one. So I know what Red Cross has brought in. They brought in food, they brought in blankets, they brought in some cleanup supplies. But I'm just wondering, where's all the money, the millions that they collected?
Sandy did almost $30 billion in damage to New Jersey, affecting personal property, businesses, transportation, and the tourism industry. The Red Cross has that money right now, but Gigi says it's time to hand it over to the state.
Where is that money? Because if there's 7 counties that are affected, you would think that, and we need the money to help build, send the money in here. Send the money to the counties.
For QNN, I'm Zach Russo.
Yo, it's about to collapse. Yo.
It all started with a cigarette that wasn't put out. Now Camilla Gomes was watching her Aspen Glen apartment go up in flames.
I immediately started to cry because I was just so nervous and so anxious, and from what I had seen, I thought I had lost everything.
A ground floor resident threw a lit cigarette into a bucket on his patio. 20 minutes later, the porch was ablaze, with flames spreading into Camilla's adjacent apartment.
Okay, like now it's probably in the kitchen, now it's probably getting to my closet, oh, now it's probably like on my bed.
Theo Sigalakis, another resident of the building, ran outside when he heard people yelling.
Once you hear everybody's safe, the next thing you're thinking about is, do I still have my stuff? And I left my cell phone in there, I left my laptop, so I was thinking about the insurance process.
Theo spent a night at Quinnipiac's York Hill campus after the university contacted displaced students.
We reached out via our social media that night to make sure that students who were affected knew that they could come here and in the middle of the night if they needed to.
Camilla opted to stay with a friend until she was able to move back into Aspen Glen 2 days after the fire. Camilla was satisfied at Aspen's response to getting her a new apartment, but she was upset that the fire hydrant was covered in snow. According to Hampton Fire Chief David Baradeska, Aspen Glen is a private residence and therefore needs to dig out their fire hydrants themselves. Camilla says it took firefighters 45 minutes to dig out the hydrant.
It was absolutely ridiculous. I was like watching the firefighters ask everyone to open their cars and give them the shovels that they had in the cars to dig out the fire hydrants.
Camilla is now moved into her new third-story apartment, but the fire still affects her.
So paranoid. Every like little noise, I'm paranoid, and especially now that we're upstairs, I keep thinking like, I need to be careful because if this catches on fire, we're gonna lose everything.
Camilla can take comfort in changes Aspen Glen is making to their fire policy. The complex no longer allows residents to smoke within 25 feet of any apartment. For QU News, I'm Zach Russo. If you like baseball and watch ESPN, you probably know Tim Kurkjian. Even if you aren't a baseball fan, you still might know him. Tim is highly recognizable because of his height and the sound of his voice, which he has no shame in hiding.
I knock on the door and I say, "Hi, I'm Tim Kurkjian with the Dallas Morning News." And he takes one look at me because it's 1981 and I'm about 3'11", and he says, "Okay, I'll go get you your money." So he thought I was the paper boy, and I had to explain, look, I'm really not the paper boy. I'm a real reporter with a real newspaper.
Kurkjian always knew he wanted to spend his career being around baseball. But while playing for Walter Johnson High School in Maryland, he knew he probably wouldn't make it to the big leagues. So he decided he'd become a writer. And after graduating from the University of Maryland, Kurkjian began working for his hometown paper, the Washington Star. But the Star folded just 3 years later, so he moved over to the Baltimore News-American. But they folded just 2 months later. So Kurkjian moved to Dallas, and then back to Baltimore, and then to Sports Illustrated before finally settling in at ESPN. He still writes a bit, but he's mostly known for being an analyst on Baseball Tonight, where he shares the desk with former major leaguers like John Kruk, Aaron Boone, and Curt Schilling, and he has to sound just as knowledgeable about the game as all of them. What's it like then sort of establishing and maintaining your credibility with guys that are sitting next to you that played and coached in the majors when the highest level of competitive baseball you played was high school?
Right, it's really hard, especially when you're my size too, because people look at me and go, what could he possibly know about this? He's a dinky little sports writer. And that's completely above ground to say that. I get it. That's why I have to work extra hard.
You used to keep a notebook full of baseball stats and box scores. Can you tell me a little bit about those books?
Yeah, when I went to Sports Illustrated, I became a national baseball writer. So I'm not covering a team every day on the beat. I got to cover all the teams. So I figured the best way to do that was to keep a day-by-day book, which I write down every single day what every single team did. And I cut out every single box score of every single game every single day and tape them in all these notebooks. So I would have my box score book with me and my day-by-day book with me wherever I went. Well, I did the box scores for 20 years, and I never missed a day. And I mean, not one day did I do 2 days in one. I did it every day without fail. It was a better streak than Cal Ripken has ever done.
So you don't do the box scores anymore, you just do the
No,
day-by-day?
I stopped doing that 5 years ago, in part because all my box score books I put in my closet, on the top of my closet where I keep all my clothes, and the weight of my box score books actually collapsed my closet one day, and I got home from a road trip and all my suits were on the ground just covered with plaster because my box score books were too heavy and it had collapsed my closet. I think that was a sign from God. Tim, that's enough. You've done enough box score cutting out in your life. It's time to become an adult. Let somebody else do that.
You started off as a writer, as you've said, especially in newspapers. How then did you get your start in broadcasting?
When I was at Sports Illustrated, CNN came in and said, we're starting a new channel called CNN SI, and all of you writers are going to go on TV. So I said, well, I don't want to go on TV. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. And they said, well, you don't have a choice. You're on. So I said, well, you're going to teach me how to do this? And they said, well, there's no time for that. You're a writer. You'll figure it out. You're on. So that's how my TV career began. They just said, let's go. In 1998, when I started wearing a tie to work and a coat and tie and a suit and going on TV, my writer friends looked at me like, what are you doing? You're a traitor. You can't go over to the broadcast side, okay? There are the writers here and the broadcasters there, and they never meet in the middle. And yet here it is 17 years later, and all the writers are on TV. They all have their own radio show.
When I was growing up, my dad always told me, do what you love so that when you go to work, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, and people say that to me all the time. I get asked all the time, you have the greatest job in the world. And the good thing is I realize that I have the greatest job in the world. I mean, I get paid to go to baseball games for a living. Now, it's a lot harder than people think it is. It's a lot of time away from home. It's a lot of hours. And that's always the challenge, getting to as many games as I can get to and still be in Bristol for Baseball Tonight and still do everything I need to do with the other parts of my job, and frankly, be at home with my family as much as I can also. So there's always about 6 balls in the air every week.
A couple of years ago, players started imitating the way you talk.
Tim Kurkjian, ESPN, talking with Niger Morgan here. Thanks, Aaron.
I can't believe we're still doing this. This was 2 years ago.
What was your initial reaction to that?
Well, initially I was worried because I thought I looked like a cartoon character, and I thought my credibility was going to suffer greatly from it, that I was going to become the laughingstock.
I'm so excited to be here in Arizona. Isn't it beautiful?
But I recognized pretty soon afterwards that people actually liked this.
I saw Corey Hart in the clubhouse. I'm talking about his knee surgery, getting an update.
And my boss here, who's the best TV guy I've ever met in my life, said, Tim, I hope you're okay with this because this is TV gold. This is what people want to see because it's real.
Now, obviously, in this staff, we have James Shields, who threw 11 complete games, which is unheard of in this day and age.
I love it that my teammates, Aaron Boone, Rick Sutcliffe, Terry Francona, John Kruk, laughed their butts off about this. And that made me feel like, all right, it's okay. Also, on a slightly different level, this is the hardest game in the world to play. Being around it all the time, if you don't have a little bit of fun with it, it will tear you to pieces, believe me. And we laugh at the players all the time. And if they want to laugh at me once in a while, I'm not about to say, hey, you're not allowed to laugh at me. When they say, hey, you laugh at us all the time, I'm in. And I also realize I think they're laughing with me at this, not at me. And even if they are, I don't care. It's pretty darn funny.
Yeah, you really have a good sense of humor and sort of self-deprecating in a way.
Well, you have to be. This is what my father taught me. Look, you know, you should be able to laugh at yourself. You shouldn't take yourself too seriously. You should take your job seriously and your career seriously and your life seriously, but you can't take yourself too seriously. And I've never done that. And let's face it, with the way I look, height, voice, if I take myself too seriously, I'm in a lot of trouble anyway. So this is who I am. This is what I got. If it's not good enough, that's the way it goes. But no arguments here.